Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our virtual town hall meeting. This is our third of four meetings which we are holding each Monday during the month of August. General updates provided this evening will be the same, and then our neighborhood liaisons will share update-specific information for the following neighborhoods, the North and Northwest communities. We wanted to take this opportunity to share updates with you, our residents. We are all working very differently this year than we were this time last year. All of our community events, festivals, and activities that we would normally have during this time have either been postponed and in some instances canceled due to COVID-19. We are all learning to communicate in different ways. A lot is going on in our city, our country, and our nation. A global pandemic, civil unrest, and one of the most violent summers that we have seen in our city. We will continue to provide updates and work with each of you every day to address these issues and to find real solutions. While it may not seem like it some days, we all know that better days are ahead of us. Now it is my pleasure to turn this virtual mic over to our neighborhood liaison, Catherine Call.
Thank you, Director. Good evening. My name is Catherine Call. I am joined by my colleague, Rebecca Dietz, and we are going to be your hosts for this evening. A couple light housekeeping items before we begin. Please know that you're going to be receiving a lot of information tonight. In the chat feature, you will find a Google Drive where the presenters will provide additional information that you can reference after the meeting. We will do every attempt to answer the questions live as the guest speakers present, but we will also leave plenty of time at the end to answer your questions. If there are questions that we cannot answer at the time because the appropriate person is not here or we just need to do some follow-up, we will follow back up with you tomorrow or the next day to answer your questions. I'm now going to provide some area-specific information. I have the honor and privilege of serving the Clintonville, University area, 5th by Northwest, Wyland Park, Harrison West, Short North, Italian Village areas. And here are some updates. Tomorrow is the first day of school for Ohio State students. My daughter and thousands of other students will be starting classes both online and in person. With 65% of OSU students living outside of university housing, The Ohio State University has rewritten campus protocols, procedures, reinvented the move-in process, and developed detailed testing protocols in an effort to operate as safely as possible during this pandemic. All students are required to sign a pledge promising to follow university rules and guidance, and failure to do so can result in disciplinary actions from the university. As always, if you observe parties, both on campus, off campus, or in your surrounding neighborhoods, you are encouraged to contact 311, who works closely with Columbus Public Health and Columbus Public Police to address these concerns. As the director mentioned, there has been a large uptick in violence all around our cities, and the neighborhoods that I'm over have been no different. Particularly in the Wyland Park community, there has been an increase in violence. I've been working closely with the CLOs in that area, along with Columbus Police by Cantrell. This Thursday, 2 police officers from that area will be joining the Wyland Park Civic meeting to provide more detailed update on the recent violence, as well as answer any community questions or concerns. You could join this meeting by Zoom, or you could join it in person this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Since March, I've received a lot of phone calls and emails from concerned community members regarding large parties that have been taking place in Airbnbs. Columbus City Council is currently working with our Department of Technology to create an online interactive map of all listed and registered short-term rentals to empower our communities to contact the owners of these properties directly should there be any concerns. This new feature will be going live this fall, and it is one of the many ways the city is working with the community to combat concerns surrounding short-term rentals. City Council will be hosting a public forum to give residents of the city an opportunity to share their experiences and their feedback with Airbnbs and other short-term rentals in the city of Columbus. This fall, City Council will be voting on legislation surrounding short-term rentals, and we encourage you to make your voice heard. When I have that specific date, I will share it with my community members. In the meantime, should you have concerns about short-term rentals or Airbnbs, you are encouraged to contact myself, your other neighborhood liaison, or Councilmember Doran's office. Finally, a message from our Columbus Police Department. They want to make sure you guys know that the CLOs are available for virtual and in-person meetings. They are just requesting you abide by the governor's order on social distancing, encourage you to meet outdoors whenever possible. National Night Out has been postponed till October 6th. And when I have more information about National Night Out, I will share that with my communities. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca Dietz.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Dietz, Neighborhood Liaison for the Far West Side, West Scioto, Downtown, Northwest and Far Northwest Columbus, and Hayden Run. I do have a couple of updates for my communities as well. Police Community Liaison Officers Tom Paulus and Joe Townsend report that there are continued property crimes to homes and vehicles in their areas. Many of these are crimes of opportunity, so they would like to remind residents not to leave anything in their cars and always to lock their homes and vehicles. I'd also like to remind everyone to complete the 2020 census. The census count impacts everything from congressional seats to local infrastructure. For every individual who is uncounted in a census, the community loses over $1,000 a year for 10 years. This year, the census count will end on September 30th. Please visit 2020census.gov to complete the census. For ideas on how to encourage your community to complete the census, please visit makefccount.com. And lastly, an update from the social workers at Columbus Public Health. With COVID-19 still affecting Columbus and Central Ohio, they want to remind the community about some resources that are available. By visiting columbus.gov and clicking on the COVID-19 image, you'll be connected to the Columbus Public Health COVID-19 dashboard. Here, you can find information about testing sites, reports and fact sheets, and community resources. You may also call the Columbus Public Health COVID-19 hotline at 614-645-1519 with any questions you may have. And with that, we will get started with this evening's speaker. First, we have updates from Assistant City Attorney Sarah Pomeroy and Chastity Barham. Sarah?
Thanks, Rebecca. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Sarah Pomeroy, and along with my colleague Chastity Barham, we are with the Zone Initiative team of the City Attorney's Office. So our unit focuses specifically on the elimination of public nuisances blighting the city's neighborhoods. That includes abandoned and deteriorating houses, open dumping, street prostitution, problematic hotels, bars, markets, boot joints, excessive noise issues, and just generally trash and debris. Our unit seeks to eliminate these problems with cases through the environmental court in Franklin County. So we work closely with Division of Police, Code Enforcement, Columbus Public Health, Sanitation, and various community organizations to achieve these goals. So within our group, we're each divided up geographically. So I have the privilege of serving the far west, far northwest, and then far north sides of Columbus. And I'll turn it over to Chastity.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that introduction. My name is Chastity Barham, and I also serve as an assistant city attorney. I serve as an assistant city attorney for Zone 4. So Zone 4 consists of 5th by Northwest, University area, Clintonville, North Central, and North and South Linden. And as Sarah provided earlier, the city of Columbus is actually split into 5 zones. Sarah Pomeroy serves as the assistant city attorney for Zone 4. For Zone 1. Heidi Carr is the Zone 5 assistant city attorney and serves, amongst other areas, the Short North area, and then Zach Gwynn serves as the Zone 3 attorney who serves amongst other areas far west. And we also have Tiara Ross in our office as well, who serves as the Zone 2 attorney. And so one of the things that we would like to address tonight is illegal dumping. And our office has been working with refuse regarding instances of illegal dumping. And as the name would suggest, illegal dumping is a crime and is punishable for up to 60 days in jail and or up to a $1,000 fine. This year, we've tripled the amount of cases that we've filed. We have a prosecutor in our office, Christopher Clark, who is dedicated to filing and prosecuting these types of cases. Christopher also handles retaliatory evictions. And oftentimes we see these instances occur when a tenant contacts code enforcement based on an exterior or interior violation, and the owner then files an eviction in retaliation against the tenant. Additionally, regarding reporting problematic properties. So these are properties that pose an issue to the health, safety, or well-being of a neighborhood and or its occupants. These are properties that are either not in compliance with code enforcement or there's criminal activity that's occurring at the premises. If you are observing such, we encourage you to contact Columbus Police Department when reporting criminal activity. For emergencies, please always contact 911. For non-emergencies, contact 614-645-4545. If you are observing issues regarding either the sale or the use of narcotics, you can contact the Columbus Police Department's narcotic line directly at 614-645-4616. For noise complaints, you can contact Columbus Police Department's non-emergency line unless you believe there poses some type of emergency, and then in that instance, contact 911. Regarding code violations or health violations, contact 311. 311 also provides you with a tracking number so that you can follow up with the status of your complaint. And after you've contacted the appropriate entity, contact your zone attorney. Contact Sarah, me, Heidi Carr, Zach Gwynn, and for those of you who may be observing who live over in Zone 2, Tierra Ross, contact us to follow up, and we can follow up then with those entities regarding those complaints and then determine what steps need to be taken in those instances, as well as whether or not it is appropriate to file a nuisance abatement action against the property. Regarding court procedures, unfortunately, we've experienced a significant backlog due to COVID-19, and we are actively working through those cases. You are able to track the status of a case on the Franklin County Clerk of Municipal Courts website at fcmcclerk.com/case/search. Again, www.fcmcclerk.com/case/search. Traffic arraignments and evictions are occurring at the convention center. And then regarding cases that are actually occurring in the courthouse, we have limited seating in the courtroom. There is more space between tables for counsel and defendants. Additionally, for quite some time, masks have been required in the courthouse, and security is present at the entry of the courthouse to provide masks. And regarding civil environmental cases, we have people coming in at staggered times compared to before, where folks will come in large groups, and we would have folks come in groups at one time. So now we have people who come in at 9. We have cases set for 10 a.m., 11 a.m., just throughout the day, and to try to resolve those cases involving having a limited number of people in the courtroom. And as each case is called, people come in for their particular case. So if you have a particular case on that day, you may have to wait if someone has come in before you so that we can address their case first. But once they leave, then your case is able to be addressed. Additionally, we are trying to resolve as many cases that we can out of court whenever possible and wherever feasible. So I would like to turn back to Sarah Pomeroy, who will provide some other updates to you all. So thank you.
Thanks, Chastity. Just a couple more things from us. One, I know, especially on the north end of Columbus, northwest and far north, There's been questions about homeless populations and what to do with individuals who either camped on private or public property, what to do about folks who may be doing something that you feel is either unsafe or inappropriate or may just need some help. So if it's an emergency, first and foremost, always call 911. But also, especially when reporting any sort of encampment, we encourage everyone to dial 311. Those tickets get routed to a homelessness collaborative, which actually our office is a part of. For public property issues, the city is in charge of going out to those camps and potentially connecting folks with services where needed, remediating those camps if necessary. And then on private property, that's when we typically will involve the owner. So just on homelessness issues, again, 311 is usually a great place to start. Finally, obviously, this has been a trying time. COVID has affected a lot of aspects of our lives and a lot of aspects of our work. It's no secret that there have been numerous regulations on businesses and on patrons who are entering, especially bars and restaurants. Within the city attorney's office, one of the projects that I have is a nuisance abatement group that focuses on liquor establishments. And so within that, we started to integrate the investigation of places that have had chronic COVID violations, COVID regulations violations. We're still very much finalizing what that process exactly is going to be. Rest assured, though, that we've been in constant contact with the Department of Health. They collect their complaints about COVID violators through 311. So if you've been to an establishment that you feel is not safe when it comes to either social distancing or mask wearing, 311 is always your best bet as far as reporting that. And of course, you're always welcome to follow up with your zone attorney after you've made that initial report. From there, the initial right out the gate with COVID, there's been just a lot of educating of establishments. We've now moved into where we have some chronic violators, and we are still finalizing a process for how best to address that. Most likely it will be integrated into our workflow for bars and markets that we potentially bring nuisance and abatement actions against. So I just wanted to give you all that update as far as COVID violations. Those I know are certainly prevalent on folks' minds. We're happy to take any questions if you throw them into the Facebook chat, and we're really thankful and appreciative of everybody tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chastity, and thank you, Sarah. Once again, we are taking questions live, so please feel free to put them in the Facebook chat. Our next guest speaker is Stephen Sayre, and he is from the Mayor's Office. Stephen, take it over.
Thank you, Catherine, and thanks everyone joining us this evening. I am here tonight to speak for just a few minutes about an issue that will be on the ballot this November. For the first time, Columbus voters will have the opportunity to amend our charter, our city's constitution, to establish a civilian police review board and create for the first time an inspector general of the Columbus Division of Police to conduct independent investigations into acts of police misconduct. This amendment will allow voters to voice their opinion in terms of police reform and the establishment of a framework for civilian oversight that has subpoena powers, the authority to conduct independent investigations, and recommend disciplinary action. It is, as part of the amendment, fully staffed and funded, and that funding is tied to our charter through this vote, if it were to pass, so that future city councils and mayors could not simply cut the funding to the program, which is something that has happened in other cities that have established similar programs. The amendment will not unnecessarily limit the authority of the Civilian Police Review Board, which has recently been established in the future, but will serve as a starting point to establish the Civilian Review Board by the end of the year. The Civilian Review Board Working Group has recently begun meeting, and that group will have recommendations for the powers and the form, the function, the finer details of the Civilian Review Board to help ensure that community input and recommendations are taken into consideration in forming the backbone of what this board looks like moving forward. What the amendment will do is help establish the broad pillars for a civilian review board, borrowing from best practices from around the country, but also allowing that group that's already meeting to continue to take community input into how the board is shaped. Details like the number of board members, how they are appointed, and how many terms they serve, important functions like how investigations will be conducted, and disciplinary recommendations handed out will be shaped by this working group with community input, and there will be more meetings coming over the coming days and weeks. Many of the key elements of a strong civilian review board, things that our residents care most about, will still need to be negotiated with the FOP. This creates the framework, but there will still be the need for the city to come together with the FOP on many big issues that will remain. But what this will do is provide the framework and really demonstrate, if passed, where our community's expectations are at. And with that, I am happy to take any questions. If not, I will hand things back over to Rebecca.
All right, we do actually have a couple of questions so far from the city attorneys, or the city attorneys rather. So Roy was asking if there is a list of these COVID violators that Sarah alluded to. So I will let Sarah speak to that.
We don't have a set list, especially because a lot of this has been sort of in the investigatory stage as far as like we don't have one just giant list of everything, we have all the violations currently, but you know, as we proceed through this, we would bring public lawsuits potentially against places. So that would be, I guess, stay tuned. But for right now, like there is not a public, you know, announcement, a list of our chronic violators, because everything is still in the investigatory stage between public health, my office, and in a few instances, a few other smaller departments.
Great, thank you. We do have an additional question from Justin about homeless populations. So he's inquiring as to what determines when remediation of a homeless camp is needed. What drives that process?
So first and foremost, I would say follow up with our colleague Tiara Ross. She's actually the one who sits within our group on the homelessness group. So she is going to be the most knowledgeable about this process. My understanding is that it does differ between whether or not it's on a private property and versus a public property. On private property, generally that decision is going to rest with the private property owner. Now, if there's debris that could be considered a code violation, that would be where code enforcement could cite the property owner for any sort of trash or debris, and I'm talking about physical items, of course, and that could potentially lead to the owner then remediating the camp. When it comes to public property, I can't answer that right now because I don't 100% know. But again, my colleague Tiara Ross is the individual who sits on that committee within our office, so I encourage following up with her. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So again, thank you, Stephen, for joining us today. Next up, we have Jenna Tipaldi, who's going to be speaking about electric aggregation.
Thanks, Rebecca. Can you all hear me? Great. So hi, everybody. My name is Jenna Tipaldi. I'm the climate advisor for the city through the American Cities Climate Challenge. I work very closely with the mayor's office and the city's Office of Sustainability on energy and climate-related programs and policies. First, I want to thank the Department of Neighborhoods for holding this virtual town hall tonight and allowing space for us to discuss the city's efforts around electric aggregation. This is an initiative that will be appearing on the ballot this November. Really today, I have 4 objectives and goals to share and that I hope that everybody tuning in can leave with. The first is to really provide information and a general understanding of what is electric aggregation. I also want to share what are some of the opportunities around electric aggregation for our city. Look forward to what our main goals are and the timeline for this work, and then finally wrap up a little around the process that we've conducted so far. So to start, earlier this year, Mayor Ginther committed the City of Columbus to pursuing a community choice aggregation program with the goal to implement a program that provides 100% clean renewable energy citywide by 2022. So that's really the North Star that's guiding the city's work, the timeline, and the process for implementing aggregation as we move forward. The process of community choice aggregation allows the city to purchase energy on behalf of its residents and small businesses to provide competitive pricing through group buying power. This authority also allows the city to ensure that the energy being purchased is sourced from 100% clean renewable energy, such as wind and solar. So residents and businesses continue to receive the same service from their utility company through the transmission wires that you see out on the streets. The aggregation program simply changes the energy source, which is where the energy generated to create electricity comes from. And we do this to ensure, once again, that we can have 100% clean renewable energy. Community and resident choice is also a critical part of electric aggregation. Participation in the program is voluntary, and residents can always choose to opt out if they do not wish to participate. The city is also committed to looking to source the clean energy as local as possible to support the clean energy industry here in Ohio and drive workforce development. Locally sourced renewable energy can have a huge impact for the clean energy industry, and we can help spur new clean energy development in Ohio and Central Ohio for years to come. This effort will also support local clean energy jobs that have good wages and good benefits. These are high quality, well-paying jobs that can't be outsourced. And as part of this work, the city will seek to build a diverse workforce pipeline to connect residents to those work opportunities. The city has already taken some key steps towards electric aggregation and meeting this 2022 timeline set forth by Mayor Ginther. To date, we've hired an energy consultant and broker to assist the city in all aspects of establishing the aggregation program. And in July, City Council passed legislation to approve electric aggregation to be placed on the November 2020 ballot. This was a critical step that the city had to take in order to implement the program and become a state certified aggregator. So just to summarize, community choice aggregation is about providing 100% clean energy for residents, providing competitive rates and choice to residents, supporting clean energy jobs, and transforming our energy future in an equitable and impactful way. In order to do that and meet these bold goals, this issue will be on the November 3rd ballot. If you want to learn more, we have 2 documents up on the Google Drive that is shared in the Facebook chat, a one-page overview and an FAQ document. We also have a website that's up, that's www.cleanenergycolumbus.org, and I'm happy to take some questions now. Again, thank you to the Department of Neighborhoods for this opportunity to speak on this important issue.
Thank you so much, Jenna. No questions for you right now, but Jenna will be staying put through the entire presentation. So if you have any questions that arise, we can certainly answer them at the end as well. Next up, I am here to introduce Priyam Chosky. She is with Celebrate One. Priyam?
Thank you, Catherine, and the Department of Neighborhoods team for the opportunity to share a bit about what Celebrate One has been up to. Good evening, everyone. As Catherine mentioned, my name is Priyam Chokshi, and I serve as the Director of Community and Legislative Strategies for Celebrate One. We are a collective impact initiative tasked to reduce infant mortality and address health disparities in Columbus and Franklin County. We believe that addressing the social determinants of health, such as education, employment, housing, and transportation, can help improve social and economic conditions in our high-risk neighborhoods that contribute to high infant mortality rates. Our 8 priority neighborhoods are Linden, Northland, Northeast, Near East, Southeast, Southside, Franklinton, and Hilltop. What I would like to highlight today is the importance of education, especially the importance of comprehensive, medically accurate reproductive health education. In addition to having one of the highest infant mortality rates in the nation, Ohio ranks 23rd out of all 50 states for teenage pregnancies. Teen pregnancy is a significant contributor to prematurity, which is a leading cause of infant mortality, because pregnant teens have a higher risk for having a baby born too small or too soon. Celebrate One has recently partnered with Planned Parenthood to implement a peer education program for high school age youth in our community. The goal of the peer education program is to support development of healthy lifestyles and responsible choices by adolescents. We want to help empower the youth to be leaders, reduce the rates of teen pregnancy and STIs, and promote healthy decision-making by providing accurate information. The Celebrate One is recruiting 60 individuals ages 14 to 19 this month through the end of August, which I believe is 1 week from today, to become peer educators. Participants have the opportunity to earn a total of $450 in stipends, engage in training, learning, and help influence their peers in healthy decision-making during the one-year program. Interested individuals can apply at ohiocenterforsexed.org. And for more information, you can contact peer education at ppoh.org. You can find a flyer about the peer education program, how to sign up and to apply, in the Google Drive link that's been provided by the Department of Neighborhoods. So I hope you can spread the word to teens in your neighborhood. I also want to mention our Community Connector program. Celebrate One's community health workers are called connectors because they help pregnant and parenting women and families by connecting them to resources that help them thrive. If you or someone you may know needs help with finding a doctor, needs diapers, clothing, wants to stop smoking, or needs help with utilities, rent, housing, and wants a safe place for the baby to sleep, please contact Amber Jones. Her number is 614-570-3592 or acjones@columbus.gov. And she can connect you to a connector in your neighborhood. Also, flyers for the peer education program and community connector can both be found on the Google Doc. I do want to give a shout out to our North Side connectors, Miriam Ali, Toshana Hardy, Sahar Dar, Angela Brock. And these fabulous women are available and listed on our Celebrate One website to connect you to resources that you may need. So happy to answer any questions. If not, I'm happy to turn it now over to Rebecca.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Priyam. So we do have a question for Stephen, going back to the Civilian Review Board. So a question from Aaron: who will draft the ballot measure related to the Civilian Review Board? And is it anticipated that the board's composition will represent citizens from each precinct, ward, et cetera, to ensure more local accountability?
Hi, thank you for the question, and appreciate the question. So the actual language to place this on the ballot has already been drafted and voted on by City Council. There was a requirement to have that done a few weeks back in order to get on the ballot in November. So that's actually already taken place. However, the makeup of the board, things of that nature, that's what the Civilian Review Board Working Group is currently working on, to look at best practices from around the country, get community feedback, and take those best practices and build a model that works for Columbus that reflects what we're hearing from our residents. So that's currently taking place. There will be ongoing public meetings, but the actual language to place this on the ballot has already been written and voted on by City Council.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stephen. I appreciate it. Our next speaker this evening is Maria Cantrell, who will give us some information about Vision Zero. Maria?
Great. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Really appreciate the opportunity today to talk about this initiative that really affects every single person, listening to this town hall today. Again, my name is Maria Cantrell. I am the City of Columbus Vision Zero coordinator. I sit in the Department of Public Service, and I'm going to tell you about some details of Vision Zero, which is a bold new initiative that makes protecting human lives the highest of all our transportation systems priorities. Our goal is to make it possible to drive safe, walk safe, or bike safe as you're getting to and through your neighborhood. We want to work with you to eliminate life-altering crashes, the fatal crashes, the serious injury crashes on our transportation network here in Columbus. Vision Zero is a fundamental change in approach to traffic safety by looking at the transportation system as a whole, with input from our local agencies, experts, and residents to consider all transportation users, including the motorists, the transit users like COTA riders, cyclists, and pedestrians. We all have a need, right, to use our transportation network, to get to work, to food, to medicine, to school when we're allowed to go to school. And we all have a right to make it home at the end of the day. And, you know, in Columbus, certainly we've always cared about transportation safety, yet Vision Zero is a shift in mindset and just a change in the way we're going to approach this. Really, traffic deaths and serious injuries on our transportation system, they're preventable. They're not inevitable. They don't have to happen. As Vision Zero has one goal. This is why it's called Vision Zero. Zero serious injuries or death while increasing that safe, healthy, and equitable mobility for all residents and visitors. And how are we going to do that? First and foremost, we have to make safety and protecting human lives on our transportation network that single highest priority over speed, perceived convenience. Safety is first. You know, in Columbus, 57 people were killed in traffic crashes on our local streets in 2018. That doesn't include freeways. And these numbers were on the rise in 2019 and 2020. With the data we've looked at, we know that in Columbus, pedestrians are 14 times more likely than a motorist to die or seriously be injured in a crash. Bicyclists are 6 times more likely than a motorist to die or seriously be injured in a crash. And motorcyclists are the most impacted of all. They are 16 times more likely than a motorist to die or seriously be injured in a crash on our local streets. You know, an individual is much more vulnerable when not surrounded by the steel frame of a car or a truck. So we really want to take into consideration how we need to incorporate safety for all users. Nationally, we also know that traffic crashes are the #1 killer of children and adolescents. Just this month, a 16-month-old child was killed in a car crash here in Columbus. We've got to put an end to this. I have a 14-month-old myself, and it just breaks my heart. And I'm doing everything to try to communicate with everyone in Columbus to be aware of this program and to take an interest in helping us form an action plan. You know, some of the concepts we hear right now with COVID-19 and preventing that epidemic, they apply here. You know, the idea of we, not me, how our actions using our transportation system affect others. You know, to further emphasize that point, everyone deserves to get home safe, right? Whether they're in a car, on a bus, on a bike, using a wheelchair, whether or not they're on the sidewalk. And part of that consideration, we've looked and developed a term we call communities of interest on our transportation network to help us identify areas in Columbus that may need extra investment in street safety compared to other neighborhoods. People living in these communities of interest may have fewer choices of maybe how, when, or where they travel, putting them at higher risk as they move around. And under Mayor Ginther's leadership, all city departments and other local partners like CODA are coming together to ensure that we are bringing all of our expertise to the table to address this issue. We're putting together an action plan to take steps to eliminate these worst crashes. Like I said, I'm talking to everybody here today. You know, this affects all of us. This plan uses crash data to identify risk in a more proactive way than the traditional approach. So we start with crash reports to identify high crash locations, and we've developed what we call a high injury network. We know that 60% of our worst crashes occur on about 10% of our local Columbus streets. Some of those streets include Bethel Road, Sawmill Road, Olentangy River Road, West 5th Avenue, North High Street, Lane Avenue, Summit and 4th. And we have all of this available online for you to look at. You know, they tend to be the multi-lane roadways with heavier traffic that might also have higher speeds. And it's also areas where we see more pedestrian and bicycle usage as well. So again, as part of our plan development, we need to hear from you, our residents. We are asking you to go to columbus.gov/vision0 to tell us about your concerns. We have a survey and a map you can mark up. And while the survey is open for input, right now it doesn't have an end date. It's indefinite to be included or to be considered for drafting our action plan, which we're in the process of putting together right now. It would be super helpful to us if that input could be submitted by mid-October, or go right now today to tell us what your concerns are. The sooner the better. We want to hear from all of you. But again, this program is called Vision Zero because 0 serious injuries and deaths are the only acceptable number on our transportation system in Columbus. So I really hope you'll go online and give us your thoughts on how we can all go home safely to our loved ones every night. So I thank you for your time. I have some additional documents with information that I've uploaded to the meeting link for this meeting. But again, if you just want to give us your direct input, it's columbus.gov/vision0. We've got a lot of great information and data on there for you to see. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. I just submitted my input a couple weeks ago about some concerning intersections in my neighborhood. So I encourage everyone to do so. And we have a couple questions for you, Maria. The first one is from Claire, and she says, can stoplights be put back in place on both 4th and Summit as part of Vision Zero?
Right now, we're putting the action plan together to figure out what it is that we're going to do. I know there's an ongoing project already looking at 3rd and Summit to do some improvements there. But as far as the other specific developments that will be included on our action plan, we're still putting that together, and our traffic management group is included on evaluating those things. But I ask that if you have a specific location concern, definitely go to that website, mark up the map, and let us know so we can have that information when we put this plan together.
Thank you. Maria, we have another question from Michael. Can this program be leveraged to get bike paths and sidewalks on the far west side? We have many beautiful parks and bike trails around the Darby Creek, but no safe way to bike or walk to them from a nearby neighborhood.
Yeah, separated bicycle facilities, so shared use paths or separated bike lanes that don't have to share the same space as cars is definitely a fundamental principle of what we're trying to accomplish with Vision Zero, to have some of that separated space. So having a push for more of those facilities all over Columbus, to have better connectivity to the places people want to go, that's part of this plan. And this plan is the beginning. It's the start of a movement, the start of a culture shift. And I hope it's here for a long time to come to make our streets safer.
Thank you, Maria. And one final question. Do we have a timeline for implementing this goal?
So we're in the process of developing and drafting a plan right now in 2020. Our program launched in March, and we've been hitting it hard with collaboration and online meetings with folks. And we're looking to have our plan drafted by the end of 2020 for review and public comment, and then full adoption by early next year. And then once that's adopted, we can start really plugging away on those action plan items. And there are some things that are already in the works that all our partners, whether it's here, within public service where I sit, or other departments, there are lots of activities already ongoing towards these goals. It will just be documented and more publicly visible for everyone to see in the coming months.
Thank you. We actually have one more for you, Maria, from Justin.
Sure.
I knew this would be a hot topic. Do you expect COVID-related losses to impact the city's ability to build more biking infrastructure?
Well, I assume they mean losses as far as revenue is what I'm kind of understanding that to mean. Pursuing funding towards infrastructure is one of the things that we're going to be doing with our action plan. Certainly not everything that we do with Vision Zero is only about physically changing the way we build the road. That's certainly a part of it, but we're also looking to change policies and legislation towards making our streets safer, whether it's adjusting the way our speed limits are set, which are at a statewide legislative controlled law. Sorry for the lack of eloquence in that statement, but not everything we do is going to have to take a lot of money. Certainly, some of our funding is affected by gas taxes because we just had that passed recently, but we're going to be plugging away to look for extra funding for these safety improvements since it's going to be our #1 priority.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Maria. Next up, we have Justin Goodwin. He is going to speak with us about LinkUs, and he is with our Public Service Department. Justin?
Thanks, Catherine, and thanks to the Department of Neighborhoods for inviting me here this evening. I'm really excited to join you this evening and share with our neighborhoods and our residents this exciting initiative called LinkUs. At the end of June, Mayor Ginther, along with Department of Public Service Director Jennifer Gallagher and Department of Development Director Mike Stevens, as well as our partners at CODA and MORPC, announced this bold partnership between these three agencies, and that is LinkUs, this Mobility Corridors Initiative. So what is LinkUs? It's really about creating a complete mobility system along key regional corridors, not just in the city of Columbus, but throughout Central Ohio, including new high capacity and rapid transit improvements, integrating new transportation technologies, and improvements to bicycle and pedestrian systems, some of those things that Maria was just talking about, and coupling that with our growth opportunities, new opportunities for housing and jobs. So again, this is a partnership between the City of Columbus, CODA, and MORPC, the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, as well as many other partners that will be involved in implementing what will be some very bold transformational infrastructure improvements in our key corridors, like the Northwest Corridor that I'm specifically here to talk about this evening. The Northwest Corridor, and I'll touch on the geography in a moment, this includes additional partners like Ohio State University and Franklin County, and major employers along the corridor like Nationwide and Ohio Health. This is really advancing a lot of foundational work that has been underway within our region for many years. The Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission and the City of Columbus and many other jurisdictions and partners have undertaken a number of studies over the years to ask the question, how are we going to grow as a region? MORPC led the Insight 2050 effort a few years ago, and that established a vision for more compact and walkable and transit supportive development patterns. CODA also led its next-gen planning effort a few years ago. It identified a number of potential corridors for high-capacity transit, so that could be bus rapid transit or light rail transit, a level of transit that we haven't yet seen in Central Ohio. And last year, MORPC unveiled a new study that was an outgrowth of Insight 2050, and that was the corridor concept study. And it looked at a series of potential corridors to couple compact walkable development with high capacity transit improvements and other mobility improvements. That included the Northwest Corridor as one of those model corridors. So the LinkUs initiative is building on that past planning work and advancing those ideas into implementation. So this really is about an action plan. And this is about preparing for growth in our region, both the City of Columbus and surrounding jurisdictions. I think we've all been experiencing over the past few years a lot of growth, a lot of more infill urban development growth, a greater desire for more walkable development patterns. And MORPC has projected that as a region, we'll add potentially 1 million people by the year 2050. So we'll be a region of maybe 3 million people. And that brings a lot of challenges for growth, but also a lot of opportunities as we grow in sustainably effective ways. But we know that as we grow, we're going to have a greater need for more transportation options. As we add people, they need to get around, and we don't want to just clog our highways continually with more cars. So I've mentioned this term mobility corridor. What do I mean by that? It's really a combination of what we call mobility infrastructure investments. So again, I mentioned high capacity transit, but also bicycle facilities, high quality streetscapes for people to walk to their destinations, and combining that with smart, compact, connected development. But it's more than just the infrastructure. It's more than just new buildings. It's really about creating opportunities for the people that live in our neighborhoods and along these corridors. So the bigger picture is really about accommodating future growth in more productive ways. providing economic opportunity, equitable access to jobs and housing, and providing people more options for how they get around our city and our region. I'd encourage everybody to visit our new website, linkuscolumbus.com. There you can review all of the goals and strategies that our partnership has launched over the past couple of months. And it lays out a vision for how we will proceed in implementing multiple corridors to create an integrated system of transit and mobility. Again, the Northwest Corridor is the first of these implementation efforts to get underway. So where are we focusing in the Northwest Corridor? Some of those past plans that I mentioned, including CODA's Next Gen plan, envisioned eventually a high-capacity transit connection from downtown Columbus up to Dublin. We are looking at essentially a first phase of that connection, essentially from downtown in the Franklinton neighborhood, West Broad Street, up to generally Bethel Road. So generally along the Olentangy River Road corridor. And so a couple of those roadways Maria mentioned a little bit ago through Vision Zero, they're included in our high injury network, Olentangy River Road, Bethel Road in particular. So looking at those safety improvements will be very critical as we look at how to accommodate more modes of transportation in our street design through this corridor. This corridor really is an economic engine for the region. 3 of our top 10 regional employers are located in the Northwest Corridor, including Ohio State and Nationwide and others. Nearly 200,000 people work in the corridor every day, and that's about double the amount of people that live in the corridor. But it is important to note this is both a jobs and a housing corridor. There are major regional destinations like OSU and Ohio Health Riverside Hospital, the Wexner Medical Center, Grandview Yard, the Arena District at the south end. But there are also neighborhoods and communities all up and down this corridor. And as we move through this planning and implementation process, we're going to be closely engaging all of the neighborhoods and communities and commissions and associations that are represented in the Northwest Corridor. So why are we undertaking this effort? I've mentioned jobs already, and we've had a substantial amount of growth in the Northwest Corridor over the past number of years and more projected to occur. I'm sure a number of people who drive through the corridor on 315 maybe have noticed increasing congestion over the past couple of years. We want to make sure as growth continues, we're providing more options for people to get around so they're not just stuck in traffic. There are also some engineering challenges along the Northwest Corridor. 315 is very close to the Olentangy River, and Olentangy River Road is very close to State Route 315. So we know it's going to take many years to really provide a full suite of transportation options through this corridor. We wanted to get started as soon as possible. So we're looking at traffic improvements, bicycle and pedestrian improvements, a preferred alternative for high capacity transit improvement through this corridor, and coupling that with coordinated development strategies. We're now undertaking public engagement. We've been doing a lot of technical analysis, understanding the existing conditions in the corridor over the past number of months. And if folks watching this evening visit the website at linkuscolumbus.com, you can read all about the background conditions and opportunities and trends in the Northwest Corridor. And you can see where we're going. And there is now launched today a public survey that I'd encourage everybody to take. If you go to linkuscolumbus.com/NW-survey, it won't take long. You can let us know how you get around the corridor today, what your vision for mobility and development is in the future. So what's going to be included in this? I've mentioned a few things. Looking at what we call active transportation, improvements to the bicycle network, the pedestrian network, some of those questions that Maria got earlier, making better connections. We have the Olentangy Trail as a regional asset in this corridor, but there are a lot of gaps in our bicycle system today. It may be hard for people to get to the Olentangy Trail or to other bicycle facilities, depending on where they're coming from. There are a lot of challenges with east-west connections, not just to the trail, but throughout our street system, as well, getting across the river and across the highway. So we'll be looking for those improved connections. Helping to untie some awkward geometries in the roadway, like where Olentangy River Road jogs underneath State Route 315, but making sure we're accommodating all modes of transportation as we're doing those types of improvements. So we're looking at providing more reliable modes of travel so that people aren't just stuck in congestion. They can get where they need to go on time and safely. So CODA is a key partner. As I mentioned, we'll be exploring a preferred alignment for a high capacity transit improvement. That could be bus rapid transit, it could be light rail transit. That's part of what we're analyzing through this study. We will determine what the preferred and most feasible mode of transit is in the corridor, what it looks like, what's the design in our street system, what do stations look like, and how do we coordinate development opportunities in productive ways around station locations? And how do we tie our pedestrian and bicycle system into that new transit alignment so it's easy for people to get there, dealing with what we call the first mile, last mile problem. We want to make it as easy and seamless as possible for people to travel through this corridor via multiple modes of transportation, really to provide mobility choices for people who live in the corridor today, but also for those who will live in the corridor in the future. So again, I encourage everybody to visit our website at linkuscolumbus.com, take the survey at linkuscolumbus.com/NW-survey, and we look forward to engaging you as we move through this process. There will be more public engagement opportunities as we move into the fall and get through the first phase of our technical analyses to bring options out to the public to review and provide feedback. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. So I do have a question from a resident who asked via email, how are Vision Zero and Linkus Columbus similar or different, and are they working together?
I'll take it first, and Maria, if you want to chime in. So they're different in that Vision Zero, as Maria described, is very much focused on the safety aspect of how we design and move people through our transportation system, and specifically eliminating all severe and fatal traffic-related crashes. Linkus is about a large vision for how we can provide multiple modes of transportation and think differently in our street design. So they are linked together. We're going to be very much focused on accommodating new growth and development along these key regional corridors and coupling that with aligned mobility investments. We certainly will be employing all of the elements of the Vision Zero action plan to make sure that those designs, say around high capacity transit improvements or bicycle and pedestrian connections, are done in the safest manner as possible, aligned with the goals of Vision Zero.
Yeah, just to reinforce what Justin said, he and I both work in the Department of Public Service. Justin and his staff are helping to support the development of our Vision Zero program. He's got corridor-specific items that the principals do interconnect with Vision Zero. Vision Zero is citywide and multi-departmental. Vision Zero also is collaborating with MORPC, like Justin is with Linkus. So lots of commonalities, but the Vision Zero program is citywide, and Justin's are corridor focused, and his is about more than just safety, and so they're connected but still different.
Perfect. Thank you both. I do have another quick question for Justin. That is from Kelly, and she is asking if there will be a separate survey offered for each of the corridors as the work moves forward.
Yes, thank you. I did not mention, but I'll take this opportunity as we're moving forward in public engagement for the Northwest Corridor. This fall, CODA will also be leading the next major corridor initiative, which is the East-West Corridor. So that will include West Broad Street and an analysis of options on the east side of the city and surrounding jurisdictions and how they all connect together in downtown. And that also includes a connection to the Northwest Corridor as well. So as each of these specific corridor initiatives moves forward, there will be separate surveys relevant to those corridors. But I also want to note they're all being coordinated together. Our partners at the city, CODA and MORPC are working very closely together. We're all funding partners. We're co-leading public communications and outreach and engagement around the broader Linkus initiative, as well as each of the corridor-specific efforts. So again, if you go to the website, linkuscolumbus.com, you can sign up for updates, email updates, and you'll be able to get to any of the public engagement opportunities related to either the Northwest or the East-West or any of the other initiatives as they move forward.
Perfect. Thank you, Justin. So we are going to go ahead and move forward with our agenda. Our next presenter is Curtis Brown. He's here with the Department of Neighborhoods to speak about the Comprehensive Neighborhoods Safety Strategy. Curtis?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Rebecca, for the introduction. As I said, my name is Curtis Brown, and I'm from the Department of Neighborhoods and serve as a neighborhood program specialist in the Department of Neighborhoods. To discuss some things that we have going on with the Comprehensive Neighborhood Safety Strategy, which began towards the end of 2017, and the goal of the strategy was to address the rising homicide numbers that were happening in 2017. And the strategy is meant to implement safety strategies in neighborhoods to help curb gun violence. I'm going tonight to cover 3 parts of the safety strategy. Of course, the safety strategy is a multi-part strategy across several city departments. But the first one I'm going to address is, that's a part of the strategy, is Safe Streets. Safe Streets is out of the Columbus Division of Police, and it is a team of Columbus police officers, but they are on bicycles. They are in our Columbus neighborhoods, and they really serve as officers that focus on community engagement and also help on looking at things that are in neighborhoods and working with code enforcement, along with the Division of Refuse and the City Attorney's Office to address things that are happening in our neighborhoods. So our Safe Streets officers really do a great job of focusing on community engagement. The second part of the strategy is our CARE Coalition, which our CARE Coalition is from the Department of Health. CARE Coalition, CARE stands for Community Action, Resilience, and Empowerment. The CARE Coalition works with our residents to help provide resources for them who have residents who have been impacted by gun violence or traumatic experiences. I personally have had the opportunity to work with some people on the CARE Coalition when there have been homicides in our neighborhoods. They really do a fantastic job of connecting with residents and providing, as I said, resources to residents to help them during that traumatic time. And again, the CARE Coalition is based out of the Department of Health. Lastly, one part of the strategy I'd like to discuss is our neighborhood safety committees. We have neighborhood safety committees that are in 3 neighborhoods, that began in 3 neighborhoods, which were the Hilltop, the South Side, and Linden. And we've actually expanded them to the Driving Park area and the Milo Grogan area. And we are also looking to continue to expand those neighborhood safety committees going forward. The neighborhood safety committees serve as a way for us to hear what residents are saying when it comes to safety issues in their neighborhoods. And not only that, but we also bring resources and information to the residents by having people from our city departments attend our meetings and give information of things that are coming up. For example, things with Vision Zero, or if there are things that are coming out of the Division of Refuse. So we really use that as a platform to exchange information to help make our neighborhoods safer. Of course, pre-COVID, we were meeting in person for our neighborhood safety committees, but now those committees are held virtually. And we have our next set of safety committees coming in November. And if you would like more information on if there's a safety committee that is in your neighborhood, contact your neighborhood liaison. Lastly, out of the Comprehensive Neighborhood Safety Strategy, we have a number of programs that are coming up and that we have done in the past. Just to highlight one, last year we created our first landlord fair. Our landlord fair was a great experience for our landlords in the Columbus region. They were able to come to the landlord fair and get resources from city departments. We also had a lot of neighborhood nonprofits that dealt with landlords. They were able to get information on how they could make their property safer and how they could get resources from nonprofits and from the city. And we will also be doing that virtually this year. So also keep a lookout on that. And that is what I wanted to cover tonight for the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. Again, during these COVID times, we know that things are a little bit different, but we are still working to keep our neighborhoods safe. And with that, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Curtis, and thank you for the work you do in our city. I have one question for Justin. This is from Roy. Sorry, I'm going to scroll back up. Roy asked that one of your recent Zoom calls, the Olentangy River was mentioned as a potential travelway. Is that under consideration, Justin?
Okay, great. Thanks, Roy. And Roy is mentioning, we just over the past couple of weeks held a number of what we call stakeholder workshops. This was a first opportunity to engage a broad, diverse set of interests in the Northwest Corridor, including representatives of each of the area commissions and civic associations in or along the corridor. And that's our first foray into this broader public engagement effort that we're moving into now. So again, you'll be seeing more of myself and our partners in the Link Us effort in the Northwest Corridor moving forward. So Roy took part in one of our virtual sessions, and we appreciate, Roy, your participation. I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. I heard the question as Olentangy River. Of course, we have Olentangy River Road as well. So if the question was specifically, are we looking at the use of Olentangy River, the river itself, for a transportation improvement? No, that is not a focus of this study. However, we are looking at design modifications potentially on Olentangy River Road. That is one of what we call a universe of alternatives in terms of potential transit alignments, Olentangy River Road, as well as potentially modifications to 315 itself. Whether or not using existing railway right-of-way would be available for a high-capacity transit improvement, and other surface streets in the corridor as well. So all of that is being analyzed right now, and we'll be narrowing down to a more feasible set of roadways for more detailed analysis. Our objectives include a design solution that is relatively fast to implement, knowing that these things do take a number of years. Will be federally competitive. We're talking about substantially expensive infrastructure improvements, but with a high return on investment. Partnering with the Federal Transit Administration will be key. And also alternatives that best serve existing land uses and will support new land use and development in the most appropriate locations. So all of those objectives will drive us towards the most feasible and preferred alternatives as we move forward.
Thank you, Justin. And someone else submitted a question. Who would be the first contact about a commercial code violation that abuts a neighborhood? The best way to start that process is to contact 311, which is within our department. You can call 311, you can email 311, or you can submit a complaint online. And that is the best way to follow up with that concern. Our final guest tonight is Chris Kozack. She is from the CRC, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris. Chris, you're on mute.
Oh, that darn mute button. Sorry about that. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking some time to sit with us this evening and talk about what's going on in Columbus and future plans. It's an exciting time, but it's also kind of a tough time right now between the pandemic, and the unemployment that has gone along with that for many folks, the civil unrest, and the sort of general climate of hatred that we live in, there's a lot going on in our city that doesn't feel fair or safe. The Community Relations Commission is housed within the Department of Neighborhoods, and we are the city body that addresses civil rights violations. We work to make sure that folks are protected. We have a fairly comprehensive protection section in our city code. Folks are protected from discrimination based on race, sex, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, disability, familial status, military service. So we have a fairly broad-ranging set of protected classes. We address discrimination in areas of employment, housing, and access to public accommodations. So if you feel that you have been subjected to any kind of different treatment, particularly in the last 6 months, you may well be eligible for some assistance and can file a complaint with the commission. Complaints can be filed online at www.columbus.gov/discrimination. You can also file complaints by calling the commission at the Department of Neighborhoods or through 311. We work hard to help get folks access to assistance who may need it. You're entitled to a fair, thorough, and professional investigation. There's a voluntary option for mediation that may or may not work depending on the particular situation. And we also have a pretty substantial list of other agencies and organizations that may be able to help you. So we encourage you to reach out to CRC, educate yourself about what we have to offer, and we can hopefully help you get some assistance with these matters. The other thing that the Community Relations Commission does is a lot of community education around these kinds of issues and differences within our various communities, and how those communities can be differently impacted by all of these other areas. So we do investigate complaints. We have a top-notch investigator. We work with other areas of the Department of Neighborhoods. We work with the area commissions, neighborhood liaisons, and so on to try and find solutions for problems for folks. We're really good at resolving misunderstandings, working through conflict with other community organizations or with community members. It's our goal to be able to bring both sides together so that we can best examine that situation from everyone's perspective, so that we can promote understanding, identify compromises that everyone can live with, that leaves everybody feeling satisfied with the end result. Of course, it's all voluntary. Our mediations are voluntary, and they're non-binding, but we do find they're pretty successful quite often. So if you feel like mediation might help in your situation, please, again, you can contact your neighborhood liaison. You can go through 311. You can go directly through CRC. We also, as I said, do a lot of educational programming for groups and organizations. Every year, one of the biggest endeavors that we take on is our annual Lunch and Learn series, which has been virtual most of this year. I think we had one live session before we moved to all virtual, but it's an opportunity to look at discrimination in these different areas, and it's a great service that we can offer to folks. We tend to look at either a particular protected class or a particular area of discrimination, whether that's employment or housing or whatever it might be. When we put these lunch and learns together, we bring together just a dynamite group of folks to be our panelists, to talk about what's going on in the city, what resources are available to our residents, and how we can help work through those problems. Again, you can find a lot about our events through columbus.gov/neighborhoods/events, and they will have all of the schedules for lunch and learns and so on. I think that's it, unless anyone has any questions, but we're here to help you feel safer in your neighborhoods and feel that you're treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, for that information. We don't have any questions for Chris just yet. So we will keep an eye on the chat and see if anything comes in. So at this point, our speakers have all spoken. So we are looking to move forward into the question and answer segment. And we do have a couple of questions that we'll send back to some of the previous speakers. The first is actually from Sharon for Maria. And she was wondering if Vision Zero would be sharing the insights that they glean from the community with MORPC.
Yeah, MORPC is one of our partners to help us develop our action plan. So they've been participating from the onset, participating in all our meetings. You know, they've also looked at a lot of similar data, have a lot of similar programs and plans, and as part of this is using existing plans and to help implement them or promote them as well. So we're connecting with them for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maria. Earlier this meeting, we received a comment from Debbie, who was actually inquiring, I believe this was directed at the assistant city attorneys, about dollar stores and some concerns about how some different dollar store chains throughout the city may or may not be maintaining their properties to a standard that the adjacent residents would like to see. So my understanding is Chastity could provide us an update as far as what the city attorney's office might be doing to address this.
Yes. So thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Debbie, for your question. Our office, through our zone attorney, Tierra Ross, is working with Family Dollar's council on a global resolution. And Debbie, just regarding your particular inquiry of regarding the Dollar General and issues that may arise regarding code violations regarding Dollar Generals, continue to contact 311. I cannot stress that enough. Continue to contact 311. Also, because I'm not sure exactly which location regarding the Dollar General that you're specifically referring to that's adjacent to your neighborhood, I would encourage you to reach out to me tomorrow, and I will figure out based on the location if it's me that's the appropriate zone attorney or if it's one of my other colleagues that would be the appropriate zone attorney for this particular Dollar General. And I can be reached either via email at chbarham, BARHAM, at columbus.gov. Again, chbarham at columbus.gov, or I can be reached via phone. My direct line is 614-645-5346. I would encourage you to reach out to me so that I can figure out which location you're having the issue with, as well as the next steps to take. And if I'm not the appropriate zone attorney, I can most certainly get you in contact with the appropriate zone attorney, as well as put that on their radar as well. So thank you, Debbie, for your question.
Thank you, Chastity. We had an additional question from Julie, who asked, where can we find neighborhood liaison names and contact information? And is there a map? So what would be really great, you will want to start at columbus.gov/neighborhood liaisons. So if you click on this, you will end up, so the columbus.gov/neighborhoods Department of Neighborhoods page will allow you to see all of the ways in which the Department of Neighborhoods is engaged with the community, including 311 and the CRC. So on this page, there is a link that shows neighborhood liaisons. And when you click on that, you will be able to see the neighborhood liaisons, and the areas which we represent. So I encourage you to please explore the Department of Neighborhoods page on the City of Columbus, because there's a lot of information there that will help you moving forward. So those are the questions that we have so far. And again, any questions that were not addressed yet in this call will be addressed. We'll be reaching out to residents. So please make sure that you shared your email address in the Facebook chat and comments, so that Pedro can make sure that we follow up on every question that was received this evening. But for now, I am going to hand it off to Catherine to wrap things up tonight.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you so much to our guests and colleagues for joining us tonight. I also want to thank the public for joining our third Town Hall series. We hope you found this program informative and empowering. If you are living in one of the areas that we discussed tonight and you are interested in becoming more involved in your neighborhood, your civic association, your area commission, we would love to hear from you. Rebecca and I's emails are in the chat, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Next week, our final town hall, you'll be able to meet our colleagues, Zelina Scales and Alfreda Kanye. They serve the North and South Linden area, North Central, Northland Community Council, Milo Grogan, Northeast Area Commission. We hope you have a wonderful evening, stay well, and be kind. Thank you.